7 terrifying secrets hidden in the Vatican. Unsolved mysteries. The truth is rarely pure and never simple. Oscar Wilde. Beneath the towering domes and hallowed silence of the Vatican, far beyond the public gaze, lie mysteries that defy time and understanding. This isn't just the spiritual center of Catholicism. It's a fortress of forgotten relics, forbidden texts, and terrifying secrets kept hidden from the world for centuries. From cryptic codes buried in ancient manuscripts to whispers of exorcisms never documented, these are 7 terrifying secrets hidden in the Vatican. Mysteries still unsolved, still unsettling. You're watching The Journey of Wisdom. Buckle up. What you're about to discover may change how you see history forever. And hey, don't forget, a little wisdom goes a long way. Like and subscribe before we uncover secret number 1. Part 1. The hidden remains of Alexander the Great. For over 2,000 years, the mystery of Alexander the Great's final resting place has fascinated scholars, historians, and seekers of truth. Despite the immense legacy he left behind, the empires he conquered, the cities he founded, and the legends that continue to shape history, his tomb remains lost to time. While many have searched the ancient ruins of Alexandria or explored the Egyptian deserts hoping to unearth clues, one of the most controversial and intriguing theories proposes something far more unsettling: that Alexander's remains may have been stolen, re-identified, and are now hidden in plain sight within one of Christianity's most sacred sites, the Basilica di San Marco in Venice. This bold claim suggests that the body long thought to be that of St. Mark the Evangelist may in fact belong to the great Macedonian conqueror. Such an idea is not merely a twist in historical speculation. It challenges how we perceive faith, history, and the stories we've inherited. To understand how such a scenario could unfold, we must look back to 323 BCE, when Alexander died in Babylon at the age of 32. Historical records describe how his body was supposedly taken to Alexandria in Egypt, a city he founded, and which soon became one of the most important spiritual and cultural centers of the ancient world. His tomb for centuries was revered by emperors and pilgrims alike, becoming almost a mythic symbol of power and divine right. Yet, after a series of invasions, regime changes, and religious shifts, the location of his body vanished from public record. In the chaos, it is said that a Venetian merchant smuggled his remains out of Egypt, and through a mix of misidentification and opportunism, they were enshrined in Venice under the name of Saint Mark. Whether by accident or design, this act would mean that for centuries, prayers and offerings have been unknowingly made to a military ruler rather than a spiritual teacher, raising profound questions about the blending of power, faith, and historical memory. This theory forces us to consider how easily truth can be hidden when it serves the interests of religion, politics, or control. If Alexander's body was truly mistaken for, or deliberately presented as, that of St. Mark, then history may not be just written by the victors, but also rewritten by those who control the narrative. In today's world, where information is both more accessible and more manipulated than ever before, this ancient mystery echoes loudly. It reminds us to question what we accept as truth, to remain curious, and to understand that sacred symbols can sometimes have very human origins. Just as the faithful of Venice unknowingly revered the remains of a warrior, modern society often reveres ideas, systems, and traditions without fully understanding their roots. There is wisdom in being respectful, but there is also power in being aware. In this, the tale of Alexander's lost tomb becomes more than a historical puzzle. It becomes a mirror held up to our own beliefs and the stories we choose to pass down. As we reflect on this possibility, let it inspire us to look deeper at the beliefs and systems we follow in our own lives. Are we holding on to something because it's true or because it's comfortable? In Buddhist philosophy, the search for truth is not a destination, but a practice of mindfulness and inquiry. Whether or not Alexander lies beneath the marble floors of San Marco, the greater mystery is how we engage with the past and how it shapes our present understanding of identity, power, and devotion. Rather than chase conspiracy, we are invited to awaken a deeper awareness, one that honors both the seen and the unseen. In this light, the lost tomb of Alexander the Great becomes a timeless lesson, that wisdom begins where assumptions end, and true reverence is born from knowing, not merely believing. Part 2. When Saints Do Not Decay. Let's talk about something that sounds like it belongs in a legend but is deeply rooted in religious tradition. The mystery of incorruptible saints. For centuries, the Catholic Church has held the belief that certain holy individuals after death resist the natural process of decay. This state, known as incorruptibility, was once seen as a divine sign, a sacred badge of ultimate holiness. But what happens when science and secrecy meet in the most sacred halls of Christianity? Inside the Vatican, this awe-inspiring phenomenon takes on a more complex and at times unsettling dimension. It turns out many of these so-called incorrupt saints owe their pristine appearance not to miracles, but to very human hands and ancient techniques. Yes, some of the same embalming methods that the ancient Egyptians used thousands of years ago seem to have made their way into the Church's sacred traditions. So, how much of what we call a miracle is shaped by our need to believe, and how much is shaped behind closed doors? Take Pope John XXVI, for instance, a beloved figure who passed away in 1963. His body lies in a glass coffin beneath St. Peter's Basilica, remarkably well preserved. To the casual observer, it may seem like a supernatural phenomenon, but Vatican insiders and scholars have revealed that between 1975 and 2008, his remains, along with those of at least 30 other saints and church leaders, underwent modern embalming treatments. These were careful, calculated processes designed to preserve their bodies for public veneration. The goal wasn't deception necessarily, but reverence. And yet one can't help but ask, if holiness is something eternal, does it need to be artificially maintained for our eyes to believe it? Of course, these efforts haven't always gone as planned. The case of Pope Pius XII is a haunting example. When he died in 1958, his body was treated with techniques meant to mimic the burial of Jesus himself. Linen wrappings, careful sealing, but nature had its own course. His body decomposed rapidly, producing such a strong odor that one of the guards actually fainted. His nose reportedly fell off. It was a moment that shattered the illusion, reminding us all that death is real, raw, and not always beautiful. Despite such chilling outcomes, the Church has continued to preserve the idea of incorruptibility, walking a tightrope between faith and fabrication. For some faithful followers, the sight of an undecayed saint offers comfort and awe, but for others, it leads to discomfort. Does human intervention, no matter how well-intentioned, cross a line when it comes to sacred signs. And here's where we turn the question over to you. What do you think? Does the effort to preserve these holy figures honor their legacy, or does it complicate our relationship with truth and faith? In the heart of every mystery lies a deeper invitation to ask, to seek, and to reflect. The incorrupt saints challenge us not just to look at the surface, but to consider what we're truly drawn to, the miracle itself, or the feeling it gives us. As you sit with this, remember that belief is not just about what we see, but about what we understand. How do we balance reverence with reality? So, what can we take away from all of this? First, that even within sacred traditions, human intention plays a powerful role. Second, that questioning does not diminish faith, it can deepen it. And finally, that truth often lives in the tension between awe and honesty. As we continue exploring the hidden stories within the Vatican and beyond, may we carry with us a spirit of curiosity, humility, and openness. If this journey has stirred something in you, let it guide you not just to more answers, but to better questions. Part 3. The Horus Theory. Imagine for a moment that the story you've known your whole life, one of divine love, sacrifice, and resurrection, might have roots far older than you ever imagined. What if the tale of Jesus Christ wasn't entirely original, but echoed an ancient narrative that had already been told for thousands of years before the rise of Christianity? This is exactly what the Horus theory suggests, and it's one of the most mysterious and controversial ideas hidden in the shadows of religious history. You see, Horus was a god worshipped in ancient Egypt, long before the birth of Jesus. His story, as told by those who studied ancient symbolism and mythology, contains remarkable parallels. Horus was said to be born to a virgin mother named Merit, a name eerily close to Mary. His earthly father figure was named Seb, which some claim mirrors Joseph. His birth was heralded by an angel, guided by a star, and celebrated by 3 shepherds who came bearing gifts. If that sounds familiar, it's because you've likely heard something very similar each Christmas. So the question arises, are these just strange coincidences? Or is there something deeper going on here? As Horus grew, his life continued to echo that of Jesus in startling ways. According to some sources, he was baptized in a river by a man who would later be executed, just as Jesus was baptized by John the Baptist. He gathered 12 disciples, performed miracles like healing the sick and casting out demons, and even raised people from the dead. And perhaps most striking of all, Horus was said to be betrayed, crucified, buried for 3 days, and then resurrected. If you're listening right now and feeling a bit shaken, you're not alone. Many who stumble upon this theory for the first time find themselves asking, what does this mean for the stories we hold sacred? Could it be that our most cherished beliefs are part of a much older pattern, a tapestry of symbols that different cultures have woven in their own way over time? Now, let's pause for a moment, because while these claims are compelling, they're not without their critics. Traditional scholars and the Church often dismiss the Horus theory, arguing that many of the supposed similarities fall apart under closer scrutiny. They point out that ancient Egyptian records only mention 4 disciples of Horus, not 12. There's no solid evidence of a cave birth or a ritual baptism as we know it. And yet, the parallels that do remain, however symbolic or metaphorical, still raise fascinating questions about the nature of spiritual storytelling. Could it be that across different civilizations and centuries, we humans have told the same story again and again, each time shaping it to reflect our unique cultures and values? As you reflect on this, consider how powerful symbols like birth from a virgin, resurrection, and divine sacrifice seem to appear again and again throughout human history. Is it possible these themes are so deeply embedded in our collective psyche that they naturally re-emerge in different forms? Or do they point to something eternal, something sacred, that transcends individual religions? The Horus theory doesn't necessarily claim that Jesus never existed or that Christianity is false. Rather, it challenges us to look at how spiritual truths might be retold through the language and myths of different ages. So ask yourself, does this theory diminish the story of Jesus? Or does it suggest that his message is part of something even larger, something timeless that connects us all? That's the real mystery and perhaps the real beauty of stories like these. What do you think? Is it coincidence or a universal truth hidden in plain sight? If you've watched up to this point, you're already deep into the mystery, ready to uncover the secrets the world was never meant to know. Comment below with Truth Seeker to show you're on the path to discovering hidden truths. Don't click away yet. There's still more chilling Vatican secrets waiting to be revealed. Stay until the end to uncover the most shocking mystery of all. Part 4. The Library of Alexandria. Beneath the sunlit shores of ancient Egypt, where Alexandria once stood as a beacon of learning and civilization, there existed a treasure trove unlike any other, the legendary Library of Alexandria. It wasn't just a building filled with scrolls. It was a living heart of human curiosity, a place where seekers of truth from across Babylon, Persia, Greece, India, and beyond came to share ideas, challenge each other's thinking, and preserve the accumulated wisdom of the ancient world. Founded in the 3rd century BCE under the rule of the Ptolemaic dynasty, this grand institution is said to have housed over 400,000 scrolls, covering subjects as vast as astronomy, medicine, mechanics, philosophy, and poetry. In a time without digital archives or printing presses, every single scroll represented painstaking human effort to understand the mysteries of life and the cosmos. And yet, despite its importance, the fate of the library remains one of history's greatest unresolved tragedies, its legacy buried under layers of fire, politics, and time. The most well-known theory blames Julius Caesar and the accidental fire he set during the siege of Alexandria in 48 BCE. As the flames engulfed his ships, they are believed to have spread into the city, reaching the harbor warehouses, some of which were connected to the library's storage facilities. But this explanation, while dramatic, doesn't account for all the missing knowledge. Over the centuries, other explanations have emerged. Some suggest that religious zealots, uncomfortable with the secular and often pagan knowledge within the scrolls, deliberately destroyed the texts to suppress ideas that conflicted with emerging orthodox beliefs. Still others propose a slow, methodical dismantling. Not a single moment of destruction, but a long period in which those in power, fearing the reach and influence of uncontrolled knowledge, quietly removed and hid away these irreplaceable works. When viewed through this lens, the tragedy of the library becomes not just an accident of war or fanaticism, but a reflection of a timeless human pattern, where power fears knowledge that it cannot control. But the mystery deepens. Whispers have echoed through generations that not all of the library's contents were lost. Some believe that before the fires, before the closures, select scrolls, those holding forbidden insights into ancient science, medicine, metaphysics, and even maps of lands unknown to modern geography, were spirited away to use. According to this theory, they eventually found sanctuary within the most secretive collection of documents on Earth, the Vatican archives. The Vatican has never publicly addressed these claims, maintaining a policy of tight restriction over its vast library of manuscripts. Yet for those who've studied its corridors and policies, the idea is not so far-fetched. After all, the Vatican is known to guard knowledge considered too sensitive, controversial, or dangerous for public access. Inside its fortified vaults lie not only theological texts, but documents from the medieval and Renaissance eras, and possibly far more ancient records that have simply never seen the light of day. So why does this story still matter? Because it forces us to ask deep, modern questions. Who decides what knowledge is allowed to be shared? What truths are hidden from us, not just in ancient temples or locked archives, but in our daily lives, media, and education systems? In our fast-paced, information-driven society, we often assume that truth is at our fingertips, just a few clicks away. But if history teaches us anything, it's that knowledge has always been a source of power, and power in turn decides what we get to see. The story of the Library of Alexandria reminds us to stay curious, to question official narratives, and to seek out truth, even when it's inconvenient or buried. It encourages us to preserve the knowledge we do have, to share it openly, and to never take wisdom for granted. Whether or not lost scrolls are hidden in the Vatican, the deeper secret may be this: true wisdom survives only when we protect it, nurture it, and pass it on, not in secret vaults, but in the open hearts and minds of generations willing to learn. Part 5. 2 Fake Mummies in the Vatican. Beneath the grandeur and silence of the Vatican's storied halls lies a mysterious room that, for years, displayed what many believed were authentic treasures from the ancient world: 2 carefully wrapped mummies resting beneath protective glass, their forms giving off an air of sacred history. For generations they were revered as genuine Egyptian relics, powerful symbols of the Church's long-standing intrigue with the secrets of ancient civilization. But then, a modern scientific discovery unraveled a truth far more shocking than anyone expected. A team of researchers from the Smithsonian Institution recently conducted DNA testing on the skeletal fragments hidden within the linen shrouds. Their conclusion stunned the academic and religious communities alike. These mummies weren't from ancient Egypt at all. In fact, they weren't even from the same era. Instead, they belonged to a European man and woman who lived roughly 500 years ago, in the midst of the chaotic Middle Ages, a time marked by deep religious transformation, political unrest, and the unrelenting grip of the plague. This revelation turns our understanding on its head. What were these medieval European bodies doing, wrapped in the style of ancient pharaohs? And more importantly, who created this illusion, and what purpose did it serve? To uncover the answer, we have to step back into the 19th century, a time when Europe was in the grip of what historians call mummy mania. This wasn't just a fascination, it was an obsession. Mummies were shipped from Egypt to Europe in staggering numbers, purchased by museums, private collectors, and even members of royalty. These relics were often unwrapped at social gatherings, treated as exotic entertainment. In some disturbing cases, ground-up mummy powder was sold as medicine, believed to cure everything from headaches to spiritual maladies. With demand sky-high and authentic mummies growing scarce, some people resorted to forgeries. It was during this time that fake mummies were crafted. Not out of malice, perhaps, but to meet the hunger of a world desperate to touch the mystery of the ancient. Could it be that the Vatican, in all its reverence, was unknowingly given 2 of these fraudulent relics? Let's pause and think about this. How many other relics around the world might not be what they seem? And what does it say about us as humans, that we are so eager to believe in the mystery that we sometimes stop questioning the truth? The case of the fake mummies invites us not only to investigate history more deeply, but also to reflect on the stories we're told, and the ones we choose to believe. There's something very human in our desire to connect with the distant past, to touch the sacred, even if that connection is built on illusion. But at the same time, the deeper lesson here is about the importance of truth. Whether in religion, history, or our personal lives, the search for truth is never easy and often uncomfortable, but it is always necessary. So, as you explore the secrets hidden within the Vatican or anywhere else in the world, ask yourself, are you seeking truth or simply a story that feels good to believe? What is more powerful, the mystery or the courage to uncover what lies beneath it? Let this story serve as a reminder that while the surface may be dazzling, it's what lies beneath, the often hidden, sometimes messy truth that offers the real wisdom. Truth, after all, does not need wrapping. It stands on its own, waiting to be seen. Part 6. The Forbidden Teachings of Jesus. Let me take you back to a windswept desert in Egypt, where, under layers of dust and time, buried in what looked like just another pile of ancient trash, old tax records, receipts for donkeys, and weathered papyrus scraps, archaeologists stumbled upon something that would send shockwaves through religious history. Nestled in the dirt was a manuscript that, at first glance, seemed like a child's reading lesson, its Greek words spaced out by tiny dots. But as they read deeper, the weight of its words grew heavier. This wasn't just any lost scroll. It was a piece of the first apocalypse of James, one of the so-called forbidden texts, silenced for centuries and struck from the official biblical record. Imagine finding a voice that had been purposefully erased for generations. This was one of those voices. The text reveals a radically different image of Jesus. Not the gentle shepherd of Sunday sermons, but a mystic teacher, passing on hidden knowledge to his followers, warning them of a powerful deception. In this vision, the world you and I live in isn't the perfect creation of a benevolent God, but a trap, a prison built by a false deity, a cosmic impostor who rules over the material realm to keep our souls chained in ignorance. And that's where the fear begins to seep in, isn't it? Because if that idea were ever truly accepted, if people began to see life itself as a kind of spiritual captivity, wouldn't that unravel the foundation of everything the Church stands for? Now you might wonder, why did the Church go to such lengths to bury this? Why label it heresy, hide it away, and keep these teachings from the public eye? Could it be because this vision of Jesus empowers the individual soul to awaken and seek liberation beyond institutional control? That's a heavy thought, and it raises questions that still make us uncomfortable today. What else might be hidden from us? Not out of malice, but out of fear that too much truth might unseat the structures we rely on. Personally, I find it both unsettling and fascinating. not because I want to cast blame or stir conspiracy, but because it shows us how layered and mysterious our spiritual history truly is. These banned teachings don't necessarily destroy faith. They challenge us to dig deeper, to question and to wonder. What does it mean to be truly free? Are we just surviving day to day, or is there something more, some lost wisdom waiting for us to rediscover it? What do you think? Should knowledge ever be forbidden, especially when it speaks to the soul's liberation? Part 7. The Egyptian Museum of Pope Gregory XVI. Hidden within the sacred heart of the Vatican lies a museum unlike any other, its halls echoing not with prayer, but with whispers of an ancient world far removed from Roman soil. In 1839, during a period when Europe's fascination with Egypt had reached fever pitch, Pope Gregory XVI founded the Gregorian Egyptian Museum, a bold and intriguing endeavor that reflected both the curiosity and contradictions of its time. Tucked away within Vatican walls, this museum holds 9 galleries filled with relics of one of the oldest civilizations on Earth. Imposing statues of gods, cryptic stone stelae etched in hieroglyphs, and the haunting presence of millennia-old mummies. While these artifacts today are admired as invaluable cultural treasures, their journey into the Vatican tells a more complicated story, one that challenges how we define legacy, heritage, and moral responsibility. The collection's roots can be traced back to a personal archive belonging to Pope Pius II, housed within the Lateran Palace, but the true path of these relics was paved not with scholarship, but conquest. The beginning of that path lies in the aftermath of the Battle of Actium in 31 BCE, when the forces of Rome crushed the legendary alliance between Mark Antony and Queen Cleopatra. With Egypt subdued, Roman generals and aristocrats began to plunder the spiritual and artistic wealth of the Nile Valley. They took statues of deities and symbols of power, stripping temples of sacred artifacts and turning them into decorative trophies for their villas and gardens. These relics, once central to the spiritual life of a nation, were gradually transformed into exotic ornaments, a reflection of how the powerful often reshape the narrative of the conquered. By the 19th century, when the Vatican opened the Gregorian Egyptian Museum to the public, it was hailed as a triumph of education and historical preservation. Yet beneath this scholarly presentation lies a deeper moral reckoning. These objects were not freely given. They were claimed through force and folded into the cultural legacy of an empire that believed it had the right to redefine the meaning of ownership. As we walk through this museum today, whether in person or through pictures, we are not only looking at ancient Egyptian history, but also witnessing the complex history of colonization, cultural appropriation, and the global struggle over identity and justice. Modern Egypt, like many nations whose ancient treasures are scattered across Western institutions, continues to call for the return of its stolen heritage. These calls are not only about artifacts, they are about healing a historical wound, reclaiming the soul of a civilization long misunderstood and misrepresented. For those of us living in a modern world filled with debates about cultural identity, heritage, and equity, the story of the Gregorian Egyptian Museum is more than just a chapter in Vatican history. It is a reminder to question how we honor the past and who gets to tell its story. In our daily lives, this invites us to reflect on how we engage with history and culture. Do we see beyond the polished glass and curated labels to recognize the human stories, often painful, that brought these items to us? It challenges us to think more compassionately and critically. When we admire the beauty of what was taken, can we also acknowledge the loss felt by those it was taken from? These questions are not just for curators and scholars, they are for all of us, especially in an age where information and awareness are more accessible than ever. In the Buddhist spirit of mindfulness and compassion, we are reminded that reverence without understanding is incomplete. True wisdom lies in honoring not only the object, but the journey it took, and in recognizing when it is time to return what was never ours to keep. As we've seen today, the Vatican holds more than sacred art and holy scripture. It guards secrets that challenge our understanding of history, faith, and truth itself, from ancient relics with mysterious origins to teachings long buried in silence. Each mystery invites us to look deeper, not just at institutions, but within ourselves. At the Journey of Wisdom, we believe that uncovering the past isn't about stirring fear, it's about awakening awareness. Because when we dare to ask difficult questions, we move one step closer to real understanding. If this video sparked your curiosity or made you see things in a new light, don't forget to like, share and subscribe to the Journey of Wisdom. And be sure to turn on notifications so you won't miss the next episode. We have many more mysteries to explore together. Until next time, stay mindful, stay curious, and remember, true wisdom begins where assumptions end.